Hello, welcome back to the gutter, the Grindhouse gutter. And this month, what have you brought us, Smoke? Because it's always something interesting. And this is extra interesting because in some way this is Christmas. This is Christmas related.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get into that in cursory Christmas, I guess you could say, right? It's not the main theme of the movie, but it does play a role throughout it. But it's a movie that I've never seen before this, but I'm familiar somewhat with the character, and its character is Coffin Joe. Movie, what was the name of this movie?
The, blo- the bloody exorcism of Coffin Joe.
I wanted to say, well, I knew it Exorcismo Negro, which
Yeah,
is the Brazilian title, which is just Black Exorcism. That's the name of
yeah.
the original one. But
Which
yeah, the
that's an
blood. I couldn't
awesome
remember
name.
the English Bloody Exorcism of Coffin Joe. I couldn't remember the English title.
Either way, that they're all awesome names, but I like that
Yeah,
Black Exorcism. That's a cool title.
yeah, it's cool. And the poster's pretty cool for that one too. The
Tell me
original
there
Brazilian
tell
poster.
me there has to be a band, an album, or a song
Well,
somewhere
there is
called that.
a death metal band that actually has a video that apparently was directed by José Mojica Marins, who is the guy that plays Coffin Joe, the actor that plays him,
Yeah.
that created the character and everything. And that band's Necrophagia, death metal, band or whatever. So there is a video out there directed by Coffin Joe himself about Coffin Joe. So
Yeah.
check that one out. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
What do you call that? Like something like this movie or what you're talking about there is that meta? What would you call that? It's like it's very self-aware or third or fourth wall or something
Yeah,
weird,
kind of
right?
breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. In other
Yeah.
words, he's Jose Mojica Marins is playing himself in the movie, and also
Yeah.
playing the fact that he created this character of Coffin Joe, and the movie deals with the Coffin Joe character and things being real or separate from himself as a separate character. Because people are asking him in the movie about that, and he's like, no, it's a character I created. It's my invention. It's not a real thing. So
Hmm.
this movie basically is that real character sort of coming to life. So it's like this. It very much reminds me of Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're watching this, because in that one, of course, you have Wes Craven is the director of Robert Englund. He's in the movie as himself, but also Freddy. It's that meta horror thing of like, is Freddy real or is he just a character, right? So in this movie, though, Jose Mojica Marins, the director, is actually he also is the character of Coffin Joe because he created him. And
Yeah, I mean,
I guess we
honestly,
should,
he's the star of the movie as himself because really
yeah,
Coffin Joe doesn't show up until we don't go deep into spoilers, but it's well into the
yeah,
movie before you get to
yeah, because
Coffin Joe's
really
house.
that character is known for his. I mean, for one of the main things you notice about him is his long nails. He's the thumbnails always long, and then the other nails are also longer than usual. Other movies that he's been in, there are various lengths depending on, I guess, how long he's been growing the nails or whatever. So, but that's one of his iconic looks is those fingernails, and they're his real nails that he's grown out. You've seen that probably before. And like I remember Guinness Book of World Records, the guy with the longest fingernails or whatever, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
they look like these nails. When you grow them out, that like we were talking about off camera, they become this like really tough looking. They don't look like your normal thumbnail or nails when you grow them out a little bit long. They're like yellowed and whatever,
they're like
discolored and
calcified
stuff.
old fossil looking
Yeah,
things. Yeah,
and
and
like I said, we were talking
the
about how you
crazy
could.
thing is he died in 2020, and I saw a picture of him
Mhm.
not long before he passed, and he still had
Yeah,
the
yeah.
long fingernails. So I guess that was just the thing that he stuck with. That was just his
Yeah.
calling card, I guess, right?
And we might as well say it now while we're talking kind of about this and his iconic kind of role in not just the movies, but in Brazil. And he would play this character walking through the streets of Brazil. Apparently, sometimes like parents would use the Coffin Joe character to scare their kids into behaving or whatever. You better behave, a Coffin Joe's
That,
going to come and
that
get
would
you or
fucking
whatever.
do it. Yeah, he's just walking down the street. And,
Yeah. And
how
you
many?
pulled up a picture. I'm sure you can put it. You'll have it up some point during this episode or whatever of a very cool looking float from like what 2018 in one of the Brazilian festivals or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it was like the
Sao Paulo.
Carnival of Sao Paulo or something. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Very detailed flow, but that just
Yeah.
shows you how big of a pop culture, whatever, icon that this character
Mhm.
was in Brazil.
And he goes all the way back to 1960. Well, as far as I don't know how when he created the character, but the first movie he was in was At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul back in 1964, I believe it was.
Yeah, yep, it was. Yeah, and that's
And
the
then
first. There's what they call the Coffin Joe trilogy, which is
mhm,
At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul, which was the first one. Then the second one in 1967 was called This Night I Will Possess Your
yeah,
Corpse. And then he didn't follow or finish up the trilogy, so to speak, and all the way until 2008, and that was Embodiment of Evil, and that was the
Yeah.
last time that he portrayed Coffin Joe in a movie.
Yeah, yeah. And all these other ones, there's about six other incidental movies that use the character but aren't really linked story wise, like those three are.
And this is one of them that doesn't.
Yeah, this is one of
Right.
them.
Yeah. And you could tell. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen any of the other ones, but you could
No,
tell this is. You could tell that, like, just by the story of this, that this is an
mm,
outlier. You know,
yeah, oh
and it
yeah.
probably other than that character it has nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what other movie it kind of reminded me of a little bit, other than Wes Craven's New Nightmare, is I don't know if you've seen Lucio Fulci's Cat in the Brain
Hmm.
from 1990 or 91, where Lucio Fulci plays himself as a horror director who's kind of driven insane by all the various violence and things he's done over the years as far as to his characters and in the movies and whatnot. So that again is very meta horror too. So
Yeah. Yeah. This is less. Not to go deep, like I said, into spoilers, but this is less. He's not necessarily going insane. More so, like this is an actual supernatural thing, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
and boy, that last 25, 30 minutes of this, what the hell? Like, it's almost like it's one type of movie that is somewhat believable in the
Mhm.
the Exorcist kind of way for about a
Yeah,
solid
yeah.
hour, and then bam, it's just psychedelic. Like for that last 25 minutes or so, it's like what the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah. That's where the movie really shines too. I mean, other than that,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
most people, I guess, like I've only ever seen At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul. I've seen clips from This Night I'll Possess Your Corpse and various other movies I've seen clips from. And really, that encyclopedia of horror that you have or that you purchased,
yeah.
I've
The
mentioned about it.
some, yeah,
Yeah, that was one that I had bought. Yeah, I bought that encyclopedia of horror back in '86, I think, when it was published. And that's where I first read about the Coffin Joe movies. Back then, you couldn't find these things. These things weren't for rent, and even in your local mom and pop video store,
yeah.
they just weren't there unless, I mean, unless you had one that was dealing with you know underground like tape trading type stuff or whatever, like Scarecrow Video in Seattle maybe or something like that.
Well,
Maybe you would find it, but
yeah, I mean, I'll
legitimate.
say even for this, even to watch it for this, like we had it on YouTube. Like I
Yeah,
think that's the only place that I could find a decent copy of it. I don't know. Did you
Oh,
find?
you know what?
Did you find it elsewhere?
Yeah, I think I actually watched it on Tubi.
oh
But
okay.
I
But
didn't.
don't let me check this.
Yeah, I didn't look far and wide because I watched it
Yeah,
on YouTube and like I just couldn't find it like a better copy. Although it's passable, it's fine enough. I mean, it's in Portuguese, right? Because it's
yeah,
Brazilian,
yeah.
and
I
but
believe so, or maybe some of it sounded like it was Spanish. So I didn't
my
really
bad.
pay
Well,
too close
no,
attention to it, but it
It's
might have been
on
a
not on Tubi. It's
yeah,
on
not on
YouTube.
tube.
but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but
But it seemed like they were speaking Spanish, and I was wondering if maybe, I mean, although I just lost myself in the movie and didn't really think about it later, but if that was dubbed into Spanish, if it was originally in Brazilian language and then dubbed into Spanish and then English subtitles,
yeah,
because sometimes it looked like their mouth didn't necessarily match up to
no, no
the Spanish they were speaking. So I think it was originally in Brazilian language and well, Portuguese,
Portuguese
and
and
then
then dub Spanish
dubbed to Spanish, and
possibly because then
then
this copy is like subtitled in English,
yeah, yeah,
so it's a hodgepodge of you know. It doesn't make any less sense because of that. I mean, you can still
no,
follow
no,
the story and everything. But, well, I mean, if you're everything we just explained, it could get lost in translation. It can the
Like
story could get
yeah.
telephone.
yeah. Again, this the telephone game. Trying to figure out what the hell this movie's about.
Oh, we've
Yeah,
seen it.
because he is just as surprised as everybody else is, I guess, when he learns that Coffin Joe really is
Yeah,
a separate entity than himself.
what I created you. You know, cuckoo, cuckoo. Look, this is the first time I've watched any Coffin Joe movie, and like, if nothing else, it piques my interest to go watch some others.
Well,
You know,
I will say this: I think you will like the only other one that I've seen. Like I said, is At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul all the way from beginning to end, and I really like. I've seen that one probably 4 or 5 times. I
mhm.
enjoy that one. It's more low key. It's black and white, stripped down, kind of. It has a coherent plot line. This movie is totally different. It's like I said, the meta horror where he's playing himself, and it's this whole existential crisis thing he's going through, and the supernatural element of Coffin Joe maybe being real, or is it a figment of his imagination, or whatever. We're not going to give too many spoilers away here for that stuff, but that movie is more of a coherent plot line from getting in. It's kind of like offline where reading the plots to those movies. It's basically like that plot you were reading where he's looking for his lost love or whatever, and he's doing all kinds of things to get her right. So some things
Yeah, It's like
Well, we
it's
won't
almost.
mention it.
I guess the whole thing. It's kind of like voodoo, right? There's
Yeah, in a way, yeah, yeah, yeah,
supernatural, but there's like a voodoo element, and then satanic. I mean, it kind of goes all over the
yeah, yeah. Because he's
all
kind
over
of like
the.
in those other movies, he's sort of and it's Catholicism, I guess, is the main religion there.
Yeah,
In as far as Christianity in Brazil, so he's kind of his character is kind of anti that. So in those other movies, he'll do things like on the Sabbath, you're not supposed to eat meat, I guess, a certain kind of meat or whatever.
mm.
And I remember in the first movie, he's sitting at the window as the religious procession is going by his residence, and he's like in the window eating a big hunk of meat or whatever.
Yeah.
He's
he's
just
got
doing
like a,
blasphemous type things or whatever.
he's got like a Fred Flintstone brontosaurus leg.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's kind of maniacally laughing as he's doing it. Yeah.
Before we get
No,
into your
I
rating,
think you'll enjoy that one even more than this one. The first one we get to it.
before we get into your ratings, there was one other thing that I saw about Coffin Joe is that apparently in Brazil they consider him. I guess they kind of have a nickname for it. Is like he's the boogeyman of Brazil. Also,
Yeah.
basically they call him the Freddy Krueger of Brazil. So for people that grew up there, that's kind of what Coffin Joe is. So
Even
iconic.
though he was well before that, I guess once Freddy
Oh yeah,
came
yeah,
out and
well yeah,
became popular all over the world, and with the fingernails thing and the and all that.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Well, think about that for a second. You talk about the float. You think about our main parades or whatever, say the Macy's parade or something,
Yeah,
and you
Harriman.
see
A Coffin Joe, a
no,
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, the equivalent.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, they
Freddy
don't even have
Krueger.
anything like that here, right? Like you're saying, they don't like
No.
the biggest horror icon you could think of doesn't have a float
You
anywhere other,
might
maybe a
somewhere.
Halloween thing somewhere.
I was about to say you might somewhere that some town that might have a Halloween parade, maybe.
Maybe, yeah,
They
yeah,
might have like Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman,
maybe, yeah, yeah.
but that would
I
be
I'll
think
it.
I
Conway's
guarantee you it's not as exquisite as that float though that like you
No,
said, I'm sure you'll pop the image up here or somewhere throughout the video, but yeah,
no.
it's not as
Anything,
exquisite as that one.
yeah, that's like well crafted and looks awesome. Like anything you'd see here would be like paper mache Wolfman. Like,
Yeah,
probably look bad, but that'd probably be the max. You wouldn't see a Jason float, a Freddy float. You certainly wouldn't see an Art the Clown float.
I don't know, maybe.
yeah. Or
Unless,
Donnie's favorite, a Child's Play Chucky
Don't
float.
even.
uh, I was gonna say the boat float from Thanksgiving, but that
That'd
didn't
be
end,
hilarious.
that didn't end well.
Hmm.
All right, so what we do here on Grindhouse Gutter Smoke is we let you give your gutter rating, which is best way we describe it is always like what makes it grindhousey, right? All the elements put together, 0 through 10. So, what do you say?
Yeah, this one is overall from beginning to end, it probably doesn't have a whole lot of grindhouse elements. But until you get to there's certain points where it does sporadically, for the first half of the movie, maybe the first three quarters of the movie. But that final act, that final act is really over the top, and that's what pushes that, the grindhouse score that it will get. That's where it pretty much is. There's some other random scenes though throughout it that are a little bit, grindhouse elements or whatever, but not so much in this one as some of the other. Well, the only one I've seen, like I said, from beginning to end, other than this one, is At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul. But I know that it and some of the other ones I've seen clips of have, and we'll do them on the show at some point down the road, have more of a grindhouse feel to it. This one's just that kind of that. I guess he had an idea about the meta horror aspect of him playing himself, and then Coffin Joe sort of being an entity outside of himself that he's created or whatever. So yeah, once you get to that last half, though, it really picks up after that. I think I'll give it a. We'll go with a 5. Yeah, it's right there. I mean, not that's just the grindhouse. I mean, that's no reflection on the movie itself. It's just it's not really super gory, and some of the other ones are have much more violence than this one does. It has its moments here and there, though, especially again, like in the end, especially at the end. Once it gets there, that's where all the carnage is. If the carnage that's in here is, you get a little bit of what just. Well, I'm not going to go into all the spoilers or whatever, but you get gore and violence more so near the end of this movie.
All right, so now the final thing that you do is you give your actual rating for the movie. So we don't give out stars here because it's the Grindhouse. So whatever genre it is, that's what you give out. So with this one being a horror movie, you're going to give out cleavers. So 0 through 5 cleavers. Where do you rank it?
I guess I'll go about in the middle, like I did with the grindhouse score. I'll go 2.5.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. It's not top notch, and again, I've seen the first one, and it is more top notch to me as far as atmospheric horror movies from the '60s go or whatever. So this one, it has its moments. I think you'll enjoy it somewhat, at least for one watch.
All right, so with that bit of Christmas joy out of the way with Coffin Joe, we're going into the new year next month,
Oh
2026.
yeah. You know
So
what? We didn't even mention the Christmas. Sorry, but I didn't even bring up the fact. Yeah, the only Christmas thing is a Christmas tree that they're decorating and some random talk about Christmas
yeah,
here or there. But yeah, but
yeah.
whatever.
Otherwise, it has nothing to do with
Yeah,
Christmas, other than like he's taking a vacation to write, and it just happens to be Christmas time. That's it.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so like I said, we're moving into 2026. So what's the first selection for the Grindhouse Gutter next year?
Apparently, it's been quite a while since we've done a kung fu film, so I'm going to go back and revisit that.
Yeah, according to my
Yeah,
notes, we skipped the entire year of 2025. Like
yeah,
we didn't
yeah.
do any in 2025.
I
So
think you said it was November of last year, right?
yeah,
Last sometime around
2024.
there.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
it's been over a year.
And why not kick it off with a very entertaining one for anybody who hasn't seen this one yet? It's the Crippled Masters from 1979.
Yeah, I've
I'm just
never.
going to leave it out there. I'm just going to leave. I'm not going to say anything about it
Yeah,
until we get
I've
to
never
it.
seen it. We just watched a trailer for it, and yeah, that's going to be a time. A time will be had next month.
Let's
We'll
just say
see.
that. Well, you can tell from the title. There's a gimmick to this one, if you can tell
Yeah,
by the title.
yeah, yeah. We'll all see next month. So that should be an interesting pull. And then yeah, so everybody have a good holiday. Whatever you celebrate out there. Thanks for sticking with us this whole year here on Grindhouse Gutter, here on the All American Spook Show YouTube channel, over on the podcast, everything that we do. We appreciate you, and here's to a happy new year.
See y'all.
See you later.
Bye.